It's the Tom and Jody show. That's a perspective for you right there. Oh my gracious. Wow. I'm so excited to be here.
I know. Can you believe it? After how many years that we have been together and conceptualizing and re-examining, and yeah, we're finally here, and we even still know our names, so that's a good thing.
That's a plus.
Just in case. Tell us a little bit about how this came to be.
This came to be because I had an opportunity in 2018 to present for AIFD, a program entitled Discovering the Art of Leadership. It was a submittal that I had worked on for a very long time. I'm kind of a geek when it comes to like writing programs. So it was either Discovering the Art of Leadership or it was the Pivoting Perspective. And I submitted Discovering the Art of Leadership. And then an opportunity came to submit, and I mentioned to Tom the Pivoting Perspective. This was my second thought. I think perspective is so incredibly important in what we do. In our everyday lives, in our business, as floral artists, as business people, our perspective is crucial, and our perspectives are autobiographical, right? So number one, if you're commentating, never use a word that has 16 letters, especially if you're from the South, okay? And why is it autobiographical? Because you can write your perspective. You write your own perspective. And today, we're gonna explore different types of perspective, what the influencers are in your perspective, how is that different from what your bias are, all this good stuff, and we're gonna do it through some fabulous floral designs with my partner in crime, Tom.
Oh, that's it, absolutely. And Jody and I, it was amazing that we've developed this program independently, but yet collaboratively as well. And then when we came here and started working, it was like, oh my gosh, that looks like, oh, yeah. And it was amazing how much we really did mirror each other, actually, but took our own perspective and took our own way of interpreting the design and the design style. So it's been absolutely amazing. It's been a fantastic journey. So Jody, why don't you kick us off and share with us one of your first compositions?
Thank you, but to your point, I was thinking great minds think alike. It said a lot for me. I'm not sure what it said for Tom Bowling. This first panel has a perspective from gender. Part of an influence in our perspective is whether we are male or female. And that has a lot to do with our thought processes, has a lot to do with our likes and our dislikes. In floral design, it has a lot to do with color and texture. And so for this particular panel, I've chosen a very feminine color palette. Now, the panel itself is really just constructed of home insulation foam. And if you want to pour paint, go out there and have a ball pouring paint. Make sure you're ready to discard your shoes and jeans and shirt. Be sure that you know acrylic comes off with soap and water if it is not dry, which is why these were created 3 weeks ago so I would have time to get the paint off my hands, all right? But it gives that wonderful artistic feel and look, and it was very simple to do, and it had a tremendous visual impact. So I enjoyed taking everyday product, like from our friends at Smithers Oasis, using the Lomi dish, and with our friends from Smithers using some black foam, to create more of a feminine garden look. You know, her name is Mother Nature for a reason. It's not Father Nature. It's Mother Nature. And we all remember the commercial, it's not nice to fool with Mother Nature, right? So this is my tribute to her, because I don't want to fool with Mother Nature. And today, this one is with feminine trait gender. Thank you.
So in the next composition that you'll see here, what I wanted to do here was to create a composition, as you'll notice, that actually has that masculine and feminine feel mixing in together, kind of evolving unto itself. The mechanic on this is really absolutely amazingly simple. It's curly willow that's just been bound together and made a cocoon. And a cocoon, as we know, is a new beginning. And so that's kind of what I wanted to interpret on this. So you're seeing the cocoon of curly willow, and then also with the antlers, the deer antlers that are in there to give it that more of an outdoors kind of a feel. And again, not saying it's masculine or feminine, it's actually just an outdoorsy kind of a look. From there, then the accessories that you'll notice, how the protea create that rhythm to come down through, to move your eye through the composition, and we need that with every design that we make. It could be a carnation, a carnation, a carnation, a carnation in a traditional design, or something like this. Obviously, we want the scale to be a little bit more impactful. I love the use of the feathers, because to me, that's the texture, the element of texture that we're seeing more and more in our clothing, in our homes, wherever you'll notice there's a tactile feel, because we live in this very sterile world right now. So to be able to touch, to be able to feel is even more important than it ever was before. So you're seeing this involvement, and again, it's a line movement, taking your eye from one location in the arrangement all the way throughout as well. The mechanic, in case you wonder, the water source. We're going backwards sometimes. We're revisiting some, water tubes have been around since God was in short pants. And so we're seeing these with the Oasis bind wire that have been wrapped and the U-glue put on here to hold it in place. And yes, that's done at night for me, sitting in front of the TV, wrap, 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 wrap. Busy hands are happy hands. So that's the mechanic that you're seeing where the water needs to be. So
that's awesome.
All right, there you go.
Thank you.
The next composition that you're seeing here is about structure. And we all need some type of structure in our lives. So I found this amazing wall hanging, and it was really cool. It was just wire, and it had these metal discs on there, as you can see. And I thought, you know what? I needed to go a little bit further. So most of you know, in college, I was an art major, and I taught art in school. So I made these clay ginkgo leaves and glued those on as well to give us another element in there. And now you're also seeing the use of some wool and some alpaca and all kind of interesting materials that are just woven through here, even the dried wood pieces that have been incorporated. So your eye travels in and out, back and forth, and it's just about the movement of line in this one particular presentation. And then, again, to give us that strength of line, taken a little bit of the flat cane and put a piece of aluminum wire with it, wrap, 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 and it gives a very pliable type of a feel. So I can move that flat cane all the way through, accessorize it that way as well. And then sunshine bouquet, flash eye. I love it. It's got that green center to it and that gorgeous, it's just incredible. So again, water tubes in here to give us that source. So it gives us multiple locations instead of concentrating everything with a cage or maybe a bouquet holder, a BHO. It allows us to keep it light, keep it airy. The materials in here, the fresh, are mostly just woven through here. Yes, it is a temporary exhibition. It's not a long-term something that people are going to keep in their home. But you know what? That's part of the beauty of what we do is we enjoy it. We enjoy it for the moment. We enjoy it long-term upstairs, and it works well for us. So now we have the pretty much natural weaving in here. So all good.
The last panel on the end is a little bit twofold. One, it's definitely masculine perspective, but it's also a little bit cultural for me, being a boy from the South. It's got a little bit of country, and it's got, from my perspective, cultural, where I come from, and it's also masculine because of the color, because of the strong use of curly willow, because the binding points are not immaculate, because it's just super natural the way it is. And I think that's a very masculine perspective to bring to the table because, we see that a lot in our floral design. So this would be my tribute to both culture, being raised in the South, and gender, being male. So I want to talk about my next design and what the perspective is on this. So basically, it's an armature that I created with Midolino. Basically taking a nice 3/4 of an inch and twist and just bind, and then apply that to the ivy ring that grows in your garden and create whatever type of form you want to create with that. And I didn't have to use water tubes for this because every element that I chose to go inside the armature is perfectly fantastic outside of water with no water source. So the thing that I love most about this really is the color, because color is very important in our perspective. And to me, purple is the color of unity, because when you take red and you take blue and you mix it together, you have purple, and it's unified. I just feel like our perspectives can become quite diverse, can become very different, but I think when we all pull together, we have that mix. That's when we get the best perspective. That's when we get the broadest reaching perspective. And that is why I love this so much. In addition to this new amaranthus, which is called Spider Amaranthus, and it is fabulous. It has been so much fun to work with, super pliable, super sturdy, and definitely gives that fabulous texture and creates that gorgeous chartreuse line cutting right through. The container actually started as a clear glass container. And no, I didn't paint. It's one thing I didn't paint. After I painted, I was like, I can't paint anymore. I don't have any more clothes to wear. But you can take hodgepodge and food coloring and mix it up, put it inside your container, swirl it around, drain off the excess, and put it inside your oven at 200 degrees for 1 hour until it is dry, and it will color your clear glass into whatever color you want to make it. Yes.
All right.
Love that. So the perspective really is about color. The perspective is very much about unity.
I kept looking at that, and I was wondering how you got that marbleization in there. It almost looks like a fabulous Easter egg kind of a feel to it.
Yes.
Absolutely gorgeous.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm going to go home and destroy our oven and try to do that myself.
So the Mod Podge doesn't create fumes. It's not like burning cookies, you know what your kitchen smells like after that. So it's not like very fumigate. It doesn't fumigate. But the Mod Podge has just amount of chemical and glue with the watercolor, with the food coloring, that it works beautifully.
So is it waterproof?
Yes.
Cool.
Yes.
I love it.
Now, over time, it will probably, and obviously you don't want to leave it sitting out in the sun because glue and warmth don't always go together.
Right.
After it's kenneled, kind of.
What a great idea.
Awesome, thank you.
All right.
Thank you. I should have majored in art, but I majored in management at East Carolina University. I mean, what the what?
All right. So for the next styling that we have here, I wanted to take something and talk about repetition. In these containers that you'll notice, those of you that are Teleflora shops, this is the bamboo collection that Teleflora offers. And this is kind of an everyday container, but it has a lot more feel to it, a lot more impact visually. It allows us to take it in any direction that we want to. We can soften it down. We can, do a little bit more of a tropical feel to it with the bamboo. So to me, the versatility of the container and the different sizing that you see in the configurations, whether it's the cubes or the rectangles. So what I've done here is just to take the container itself and use the liquid nails and glue that to a backboard. So that's what started the entire composition. But you'll notice that there are some of the containers that actually break that hard line. So it's not a framed kind of a feel. It actually has more of a natural look to it. Inside, the mechanic is different, and this is where I think I have personally evolved and my perspective has changed, that everything no longer has to have floral foam. And I'm not saying I'm anti-floral foam, I am not, because I do use it and I'll show you where I use it, but it just allows a different mechanic. And these are the Holly Chapel eggs and pillows from Syndicate Sales. So they're placed down in here, and I actually have them wired in place so that helps hold them for transport, etc. So it's a water-based styling, which, as we know, for the most part, our flowers really, really perform well in the water. And then to accent that as well, a little bit of the ginger root that you see here has been glued on. Thank you, Smithers Oasis, for creating that fabulous product for us. So that can be a temporary feel. So if you do something like this and you want to change it out, you absolutely could. I could see this going in for a number of different seasons. This to me is kind of just pretty much neutral. And again, as I've shown with the other compositions, you'll notice the flat cane with a piece of aluminum wire placed in here. And this is kind of inspired by Hitomi Gilliam, AIFD, one of our fabulous education specialists at Teleflora. And I watched her do this, and she did it so effortlessly. And I thought, you know what? I think I can try that. And so, here I am with stretching it out and measuring and putting it all together. But that's the kind of the vining feel that we have here. You could easily do that if you wanted to with curly willow or some other curvaceous material. But I especially like the texture change as well, where the yarn has been wrapped on here to give it more of a kind of a viney feel. And so that, absolutely takes your eye on a path, meandering through the composition here. it also unites everything together. So depending on your materials that you're choosing, as Jody has shown earlier in his presentation, the Middlino does exactly the same thing. It gives you a very structured look, and this has a little bit more of a free-form look about it. We all know that gray is a melding color. Gray unites colors. Gray gives you impact and creates that dynamic presentation here. And so we're seeing that with the Trailansia and the use of the Dusty Miller as well. So it's a very neutral look, but yet very, very dynamic in it's that chartreuse, edgy kind of a green that it's never died. It has been around, again, for years and years and years. And we remember when that first came on the market in like all color, we go, okay, that'll be gone. Nope, it's not gone. It's back with us. It's back strong. And I love the use of the Cymbidium orchids to make that pop out. So there we go. Thank you, Teleflora, for those great containers.
So this guy sends me a picture of this prop. And I was like, wow, I love that. That's the Teleflora containers turned into art form. And he said, absolutely. I think it's fabulous. And two of my favorite elements in this is definitely the ginger and definitely the lotus pods by our friends at Knut Nielsen. Now I want to talk about pivoting just a little bit. So pivoting is the ability to move, and what pivoting does for our perspective is amazing, because generally speaking, the eye has created a perspective. The visual has been created, and I will say with the two wooden square bowls, all of the different elements are like all the different concepts behind what create your perspective so that you can design a perspective. But the real pivot is when we look at it from a completely different angle or direction. Sometimes, as you know, we've all learned in floral design, if you want to step back and see what you've created, it's always good. Competing, you gain a tremendous perspective. Being able to pivot on a dime in what we've had going on has been critical to what we do. So today, we take a different perspective when we spin and take a different look. And you know what? It doesn't matter if it's just a 180 or it doesn't matter if it's just a complete 360. Look at the perspective. See how it changed. Notice the dynamicness. Notice the depth. Notice the change. It's amazing. And all it is looking at it through a different lens. All it is looking at it differently than how we looked at it when we started. And it makes the biggest difference, I think, for us as floral design artists and small business people, that we need to be able to do what others are not doing. That's the key to success. We don't want to be like everybody else. We want to stand out from everyone else. And being able to pivot is definitely where it's at. Now, this prop is really an umbrella display stand that came out of a gift store. I know, right? We have the coolest stuff. One man's junk is another man's treasure, right? So I'm at the gift store in downtown Clayton. She's moving things around, and all this is going to the dump. And I said, what about this umbrella display? And she said, oh, honey, you can have it. I said, cool. Carried it back to the flower shop, and I'm like, I know exactly what's going to happen with this puppy. So I'm thankful very much to Smithers for the midnight foam that I've used. Not so much that you can see the midnight foam, but the sheets of the midnight foam are like super thick. But they're not as thick as like jumbo brick. So I'm not trying to like have excessive amount of foam in this design, but I wanted the right proportion and scale for it, and that was perfect. It also allows for you to see things from all four sides, and it's nice to be able to look down in there and see that you don't have to cover up every ounce of the mechanic with the midnight foam. But I think that one of the best part about the midnight foam is what you can create and still let the foam show and be beautiful. And if you haven't had an opportunity to play with this, then I tell you, you really need to play with this because it's fun. It's not that it's the newest or the latest thing on the market, but it's a definite artistic element that we can utilize and create tremendous conversation pieces for our clients, whether it's in party work or wedding work or whatever. So this is the pivoting perspective.
And I notice how you've taken the branch material on the sides to create that wonderful kind of a transition. So it gives you your eye like it's not jarring against each other, and
Yes.
that you just have that little bit of relief before you start enjoying the other
The
side
eye
as
gets
well.
to rest. No foliage, nothing fussy, monochromatic. It gives the eye a chance to rest so that we can really have some impact on what our perspective is. Again, it allows the eye to rest. You know, loving all of the dried materials from Canute. They're so gracious in helping with our sponsorship, and just, it makes all the difference in the world. So yeah, thank you, Tom Boland.
Absolutely
That's a great
gorgeous.
point. Thank you.
Well, a little background about the Beast, and that's what this has actually been dubbed. It's called the Beast. So what I wanted to do, most of you probably already know, for many, many years, I worked for a float company out in Pasadena on the Rose Parade. Probably some of you weren't even born then, but okay, I've got shoes older than that. But I learned so much about mechanics and about construction. And those floats that you see, those magnificent works of art on wheels, are made of pencil steel, window screen, sprayed floral or sprayed foam, and floral foam. And if you've never had the opportunity to go out and view or volunteer, I encourage you to do so. It was a love, and it still is a love. Ever since I was a small kid, I would just sit glued to the TV to watch the Rose Parade. And as an adult, after working on it for the number of years that I did, like I said, it just taught me so much about what's going on. So I thought, you know what, I want to do something that inspired me to be better than what I was in 1996. So what we're seeing here is pencil steel in the form of easels. This is the same easel, syndicate sales easels, that have been inverted into a floral bucket, a flower bucket, filled with concrete, as I said, and then the bottom using the spray insulation that has been applied to that. Floral foam into the center of the bucket allows me to give that beautiful dynamic expression of color, of form, of texture. So you see all of that's creating this whole world unto itself. That we use a lot of water tubes on a float, sometimes 40,000 water tubes in excess. So we know how they go together, and they all have to be cleaned after it's all over. And fortunately, that's not my job. So never was my job is to have to clean those water tubes. But there are water tubes down in there that seed into the floral foam itself, providing a water source for the roses or whatever product that we happen to use. A lot of the green material. The other thing that I thought was really cool, when you're ready to put on the water picks themselves, they take evergreen Christmas trees. They scour the streets of Pasadena for old Christmas trees, cut those limbs, put them onto the float, and then stab the water picks right into that Christmas, so it gives it a nice underbasing of greenery. So you see that, I've got some beautiful syndicate sales, the Bella moss, the reindeer moss that's down in there, the lime green, the oranges, the natural moss as well, and then incorporated in with some of the other live material as well, gives us some interest down there. But let's go up to the top. We talked about window screen. That's exactly what we have here. It happens to be brass window screen, but it's still window screen. But you'll notice how that changes your eye. It softens between the hard line that we're down here with the bells of Ireland, liatris, birds of paradise, all those wonderful form flowers. And now we have this soft transition, kind of moves our eye, just like Jody said, gives us some rest. And then before the top piece actually takes over. Syndicate Sales was so generous in creating this sphere, their rings, and it bound those together to form this fabulous orb at the top. So the negative space is defined and given so much impact in here. So it creates almost this sheltering over the top of this floral composition that's nestled down into the window screen itself. So the orb itself can lift out, it just sits down into that nesting. And we all feel so good when we're in that nest, whether it's at home or your office, you've kind of created your own little nest in there. That's exactly what we've done here, is to create that nest for all of this interest, just to kind of nestle down in and be a little bit more protected. So, you know, you look at it and we've got this interest, this interest, this interest, and this. But it all transitions together because of the color, because of the use of materials. And I'd especially like, I'm going to take one of these out so you can see what we've done here. These are permanent orchids from Pioneer Wholesale and Imports. And they have that absolutely fabulous color, looks just like a real dendrobium orchid, which you could use. You glued on here. And this, again, is the Middlino that Jody was talking about. But again, to give it that impact, we've taken the Smithers bullion wire and just wrapped 2 or 3 pieces of that together, and it gives that fabulous movement. And that's, again, so important when we do our everyday design work, whether it's in a wedding bouquet that you don't want that wired, stiff kind of a look. You want it to have that free, kind of a natural type of a feel. And by putting that wire on here, it allows me, I can change the shape, change the direction, but it still gives me a little bit of bounce to the ounce here. So I'm going to insert that right back in there, placed on a wooden pick. And you can see, again, the usage of the orchids all the way through at the bind point. So we have something to actually take our eye and to make that look just a little bit more visually impactful. Okay?
Awesome.
The beast.
The beast.
And it truly is a beast.
And how much would you charge for that? That's my favorite question. How much would you charge for that? Well, this one we would charge by the pound. $1 a pound. Fair? Yeah, $5,000.
Yeah,
right
there you go.
4 grown men. When Tom came in with the base, using that insulation foam, I thought, Lord, he has brought a pure volcano up in here. And I thought, if he takes baking soda and vinegar, I am just going to. It was phenomenal, and it's absolutely beautiful, and it's super creative. So thank you very much.
My pleasure. So you now get to show us something a little bit unique and a little different.
Yes, I do want to do a little bit of a demonstration. Obviously, this is the pillow from Holly Chapel, manufactured by Syndicate Sales, our good friends and sponsors also. And some people love it. Some people hate it. I did not like it. Why? Because I wasn't used to using it, because it slowed me down. Heaven forbid you should slow down a fast designer, right? I mean, had we not rather be shot, right? But when I saw how the camera photographer from the wedding, what a difference it made versus doing my traditional hand-tied, the spacing that it allowed in the bouquet, the less amount of stems per product. Now, I love them very much. Make sure that your first insertion goes all the way through the top and all the way through the bottom, okay? And you never want to have anything inside the cage like foliage. Foliage. Yes, as a Teleflora Ed spec, when I was in Connecticut, I had a sweet little old lady pull me to the side after the program to say, young man, you're extremely talented and good looking. I said, thank you, ma'am. She said, but it's foliage, it's not foliage. And I said, are you kidding me? In my world, it's foliage. And then we're just going to create I crisscross XY axis so that we can just hold it like this. The pillow never goes anywhere. It stays in place the whole time, right? A little bit of our white Hypericum berry and making sure that we're going again through the top and out the bottom. This really is actually naturally starting to create its own spiral. So if you struggle with hand-tied spiral, you can use the pillow as your mechanic, and it will help you to create a hand-tied spiral, because not everybody is a pro at that part of it. I think we all have our own concept of hand-tied spiral, and we're going to slide in a little bit of fabulous Phalaenopsis orchid, pop in a little tish of the white hydrangea, and gorgeous garden roses, a couple of the snaps. For me, once I get my flowers in, I just really take foliage. Y'all are so on the ball for somebody who just had lunch. It's fantastic. And I will use the foliage to actually create a collar around the base of the pillow so that it absolutely covers up my mechanic. I wonder what the Fern Trust people say about that. I need to shoot them an email. I want to thank them for their sponsorship too. They've been amazing. I've had such a great time here in Florida. I'm so happy to be back and see everybody. And then we're going to add just a little bit of the silver dollar for some texture. But super easy, super effective. It's got that loose look, and we can go on and on with this. But now is the point in our program that we really kind of need a place to house these. Here you go. You know what? There is nothing worse than being upstaged by your 85-year-old mother, right? Which I have. But now I am being upstaged. Like, this is totally, I did not know. Now, my mama passed away in June, and she was introduced to AIFD when I did my program, because we did a commercial on national TV. So I take her with me everywhere I go now, absolutely. Because that age perspective is hugely important, and don't ever forget that. So now, this hot mess, that's what I call him. When I text him, I go, hey, one hot mess.
One hot mess.
Yes.
So true, so true.
Oh my gosh.
That's beautiful.
Oh, thank you. It looks great too.
Absolutely.
Awesome, thank you.
We need to give it a home.
I think we should.
Okay. Well, there you go. How's that for a pivoting perspective? You know? It was a lot of love. Absolutely fun to work with, obviously, with Jody and all the help. But before we break, I just want you to do me a favor. Right now, I just want you to sit back, and I want you to close your eyes for a minute. Just take a minute, close your eyes. And I want you to think about yourself being a kite in the air. And what does a kite do? It flows back and forth, it reacts to the wind. You have that beautiful tail that's always so colorful and so much fun. And you know, you look at the kite and you think, that kite has a string to it. That string can actually be something that keeps you tethered. It holds you back, and we don't like that. But the other part about that is that string helps launch you. Without that string, you would not be flying in the air. You couldn't go any further than on the ground. So not only does that string help launch you, it allows you to capture the wind. It allows you to move forward. And that's exactly what Teleflora Education and AIFD are doing this week. We are letting you launch. We're letting you go further than where you have been before, but we're not holding you back. We're actually allowing you to go further and higher. And I think it's really, really important to remember who helped launch you, who was helping you along the way. And that to me is so super important. And whether you're working in a back room, whether you're working at a program, a Teleflora unit program, a state organization, it's so important that you do get involved. Because what I have learned this week working with all the fabulous designers that you've seen here, simply amazing. I can't wait to go home and pour some paint and bake some Mod Podge, you know? It's just all these really cool things. Had I not been here, I would not have known that. So my string to my kite is actually a little bit longer, thanks to Jody McLeod, AIFD, thanks to Teleflora, and thanks to AIFD. Thank you guys so much for being here.
Wow. So, thank you. So in closing, I too want to thank our amazing support and sponsor, Teleflora, for being so great. I would also like to thank sponsors, Teleflora. I want to thank Jet Fresh Flowers. So, if you don't know Jet Fresh, like them on Facebook and watch their crazy videos. They are phenomenal. They are high-end. They're energetic. I see y'all. Y'all don't see me, but we're going to have a wonderful relationship in the future. Where would we all be without Fern Trust, our wonderful friends with Smithers Oasis, and Syndicate Sales, and Knud Nielsen, and I can't read your handwriting on that.
Okay. Pioneer Wholesale and Imports, and TPI for the plant material that they provided for us as well. And so, you know, before I turn it over, again, I can't thank Lottie McKinnon enough for all of her sponsorship.
Thank you.
Lottie and Teleflora believe in education, and that's what we're all about. We're absolutely growing, and we want to be and learn more and more. I want to thank Bradley King, my son-in-law. He's the one that drilled and screwed and did all this kind of stuff for me, so he was absolutely amazing. Sue helped me as well, Sue Bowling. Danny Therio, the guy that made the music for us, he wrote the music, so that was pretty cool as well. Deborah De La Flora and Jackie Lacey, who put all this together for us. Fantastic job. Renee Tucci, Gary Snow, and John Hosick, and the other stage people that we had. Hats off to you.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Rumor has it that there's a new tattoo that's going viral. Let's head inside and see what we can find out. Tim Farrell. This is the last place I expect to find you.
Hey Kyle, I'm just here getting ready for the 2022 Telefloral program at the AIFD National Convention. So it's in Vegas in 2022 in July. Join us there. Come see the Telefloral design team. It is a program you don't want to miss. Oh man, can somebody get my pulse?
Deep in their roots, all flowers keep the light. Let's not grow with our roots in the ground. Join us in fabulous Vegas, AIFD, with strong roots. Keep the light.
See you in Vegas!
See you in Vegas!
Hello everybody, I am Max van der Sluis, floral designer from Holland. I'm very proud to be one of your presenters on the AIFD Symposium in 2022. I can't wait to meet you all on the symposium in Las Vegas.
Hello everybody, my name is Hanneke Frankema and I'm from Holland, and I'm super excited and super proud to announce that I will be one of the presenters in the Symposium of 2022 in Las Vegas. We are working on a great show to show you lots of new ideas, lots of new techniques, and of course with beautiful flowers. I hope to see you all then. Bye bye!